Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and history lovers. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating hidden treasures in American coin history, the legendary USA Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny. This small copper coin may look ordinary at first glance, but collectors around the world know that some of these pennies can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In this video, we'll uncover the history, rare details, and surprising value behind this incredible piece of American heritage featuring Abraham Lincoln. So make sure you watch until the end, because you might discover that the penny sitting in your pocket could actually be a valuable treasure. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we explore the amazing secrets behind the Lincoln Wheat Penny. Let's get started. First up in the 1932 Lincoln Wheat Penny begins with the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose image has appeared on the American 1-cent coin since 1909. Introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent became one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. By the time 1932 arrived, the wheat penny design had already been in circulation for over 2 decades, yet it continued to represent American identity, resilience, and national pride. The year 1932 was also a significant moment in American history because the country was still struggling through the devastating economic hardships of the Great Depression. During this time, even a humble 1-cent coin carried real purchasing power, making the Lincoln Wheat Penny an everyday symbol of survival and persistence for millions of Americans. The design of the 1932 Lincoln Wheat Penny reflects a powerful blend of artistry and symbolism. The obverse of the coin features the dignified profile portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner. This portrait was groundbreaking because it was the first time a real historical figure appeared on a circulating American coin. Around Lincoln's portrait appear the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1932 to the right. The simplicity and elegance of this design helped it remain virtually unchanged for 50 years. Collectors often admire the way Lincoln's calm and thoughtful expression reflects the strength and moral leadership he displayed during one of the most challenging periods in American history. Turning to the reverse side, the 1932 wheat penny displays the famous twin wheat stalk design that gives the coin its popular name. These wheat ears curve gracefully along the left and right edges of the coin, symbolizing prosperity, growth, and the agricultural strength of the United States. At the center appears the inscription 1 cent, with United States of America written below it. Above these words is the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, a phrase representing the unity of the American states. This reverse design perfectly captured the spirit of a nation rooted in farming, hard work, and unity during a time when economic recovery depended heavily on perseverance and national cooperation. The year 1932 was particularly interesting in terms of coin production. Lincoln wheat pennies for that year were struck primarily at the Philadelphia Mint, though collectors carefully study mint marks on similar coins from other years to determine rarity and value. Coins produced without a mint mark came from the Philadelphia facility, which historically produced the largest number of cents. However, even with relatively large production numbers, surviving coins from the early 1930s are increasingly sought after today because many were heavily circulated during the Depression and later lost, melted, or damaged over time. This makes well-preserved examples of the 1932 wheat penny especially appealing to serious collectors. One of the most fascinating aspects of collecting a 1932 Lincoln wheat penny is the variety of conditions in which the coin can be found. Many surviving pieces are discovered in worn or dirty condition because they spent decades passing through countless hands in daily commerce. These circulated coins may show faded details, dark toning, or surface wear, yet they still carry tremendous historical charm. On the other hand, collectors prize high-grade examples that have sharp wheat lines, clear lettering, and a bright copper color. These well-preserved coins often appear in professional coin auctions and can command significantly higher prices due to their rarity in such exceptional condition. The metal composition of the 1932 Lincoln wheat penny also adds to its historical appeal. The coin was struck primarily from 95% copper with a small percentage of tin and zinc, giving it the classic reddish-brown appearance that collectors recognize immediately. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and handling can change the coin's color from bright red to deep brown. This natural aging process creates different classifications among collectors, such as red, red-brown, and brown coins. Interestingly, coins that still maintain much of their original red color from the mint are far rarer, and often more valuable, because they indicate minimal circulation and excellent preservation. When discussing the value of a 1932 Lincoln wheat penny, collectors consider several important factors, including condition, color, and overall eye appeal. In common circulated condition, the coin may be worth only a few cents to a few dollars, but in higher grades its value can increase dramatically. Coins that show minimal wear, strong detail, and attractive surfaces can command much higher prices in the numismatic market. Professional grading services often evaluate these coins carefully, assigning them a grade that helps determine their market value. This grading process plays a major role in transforming what might appear to be a simple copper penny into a highly collectible historical artifact. Beyond its monetary value, the 1932 wheat penny carries enormous historical significance because it circulated during one of the most difficult economic periods in American history. During the Great Depression, every cent mattered, and millions of Americans relied on coins like the Lincoln penny for everyday purchases. These coins passed through grocery stores, small businesses, farms, and factories, becoming silent witnesses to a nation struggling to rebuild its economy. Holding a 1932 wheat penny today is like holding a tiny piece of history, one that reminds us of the resilience and determination of people who lived through those challenging years. Today, the 1932 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny remains a beloved piece among coin collectors and history enthusiasts alike. Whether found in pocket change, inherited from family collections, or purchased through coin dealers, this small copper coin continues to spark curiosity and admiration. Its timeless design, historical importance, and connection to Abraham Lincoln make it more than just currency. It is a symbol of American heritage. For collectors around the world, discovering a 1932 wheat penny is not only an exciting moment, but also an opportunity to own a genuine artifact from a remarkable chapter in the history of the United States. The story of the 1932 Lincoln wheat penny begins with the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose image has appeared on the American 1-cent coin since 1909. Introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent became one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. By the time 1932 arrived, the wheat penny design had already been in circulation for over 2 decades, yet it continued to represent American identity, resilience, and national pride. The year 1932 was also a significant moment in American history because the country was still struggling through the devastating economic hardships of the Great Depression. During this time, even a humble 1-cent coin carried real purchasing power, making the Lincoln wheat penny an everyday symbol of survival and persistence for millions of Americans. The design of the 1932 Lincoln wheat penny reflects a powerful blend of artistry and symbolism. The obverse of the coin features the dignified profile portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner. This portrait was groundbreaking because it was the first time a real historical figure appeared on a circulating American coin. Around Lincoln's portrait appear the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1932 to the right. The simplicity and elegance of this design helped it remain virtually unchanged for 50 years. Collectors often admire the way Lincoln's calm and thoughtful expression reflects the strength and moral leadership he displayed during one of the most challenging periods in American history. Next up in the 1945, D. Abraham Lincoln wheat penny begins in a remarkable moment in American history, when the world was emerging from the devastation of World War II. Minted in 1945 at the famous Denver Mint, this small copper coin represents far more than a simple 1-cent denomination. It stands as a quiet witness to a transformative year for the United States, when victory in the war was finally within reach and the nation was preparing for a new era of peace and rebuilding. The coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1945, this design had already become one of the most recognizable symbols of American currency, and the Denver minted version added another layer of history as it was produced during the final chapter of the global conflict that reshaped the 20th century. The 1945 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny belongs to the famous Wheat Cent series, officially known as the Lincoln Wheat Cent, which was produced from 1909 to 1958 by the United States Mint. On the reverse side of the coin, two elegant wheat stalks curve along the edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the motto, E pluribus unum. These wheat ears symbolize America's agricultural strength and prosperity, reflecting the nation's economic backbone during the early and mid-20th century. In 1945, millions of these coins were struck to meet the demands of everyday commerce, yet each coin carried a unique story shaped by the time in which it was created. During the war years, the composition of pennies had briefly changed to steel in 1943 due to copper shortages, but by 1944 and 1945 the mint returned to a copper-based alloy using recycled shell casings from wartime ammunition. As a result, the 1945 wheat penny is not only a monetary artifact, but also a subtle reminder of the war effort and the resourcefulness of American industry during that extraordinary period. From a design perspective, the obverse of the 1945 D. Penny presents a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln, whose leadership during the American Civil War made him one of the most revered presidents in American history. Above his head appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," while the word liberty sits to the left and the year, 1945, with the D mint mark appears to the right. This small letter indicates that the coin was struck in Denver, a facility known for producing massive quantities of coins that circulated across the western United States. The artistry of Victor David Brenner's portrait captures Lincoln's thoughtful expression and dignified posture, conveying a sense of strength and wisdom that resonated deeply with Americans during times of national struggle. Even after decades of circulation, many surviving coins still retain traces of this detailed craftsmanship, reminding collectors how carefully these humble 1-cent pieces were designed. When examining the historical context of the 1945 D. Wheat Penny, it is impossible to separate it from the final year of World War II. In 1945, Allied forces achieved victory in Europe and the Pacific, marking the end of one of the most destructive conflicts in human history. American soldiers were returning home, factories were transitioning back to civilian production, and the nation was preparing for a post-war economic boom. Coins like the 1945 D. Penny circulated through grocery stores, train stations, and city streets, quietly accompanying millions of Americans during this historic transition. For many families, these pennies represented everyday life, buying bread, paying bus fares, or saving coins in jars at home. Yet today they serve as miniature time capsules connecting modern collectors with the experiences of people who lived through that remarkable era. In terms of mintage, the 1945 D. Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced in very large numbers, with over 1 billion coins struck at the Denver Mint alone. This high production level means that the coin is relatively common in circulated condition, and many examples can still be found in old collections, coin rolls, and even pocket change discoveries decades ago. However, the true appeal of this coin lies in its condition and rarity within the highest grades. While worn examples may only be worth a few cents to a few dollars, uncirculated specimens with sharp details and bright original luster can command significantly higher prices among collectors. Coins graded in mint state condition, especially those with vibrant red copper coloration, are far more scarce because copper naturally darkens and oxidizes over time. Collectors often evaluate the value of a 1945 D. Wheat Penny based on several key factors, including its condition, color classification, and the presence of minting errors. Professional grading services categorize copper coins as brown, BN, red-brown, RB, or red RD, with fully red coins generally being the most valuable. In exceptional mint state grades, a 1945 D. Penny can sell for hundreds of dollars at auction, particularly if it has strong luster and minimal marks from handling. Additionally, collectors sometimes search for rare minting errors such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks. While such varieties are uncommon, they can dramatically increase the coin's value and desirability within the numismatic community. Another fascinating aspect of the 1945 D. Penny is its connection to the broader Lincoln Cent legacy. The wheat reverse design remained in use until 1958, after which the reverse was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Because of this transition, wheat pennies like the 1945 D have become iconic among coin collectors, representing the classic era of American coinage before modern designs took over. Many enthusiasts remember finding these coins in their childhood change jars or inheriting them from relatives, which adds a sense of nostalgia and personal history to the collecting experience. For numismatists and history enthusiasts alike, the 1945 D. Lincoln wheat penny offers a compelling blend of artistry, historical significance, and accessibility. Unlike rare gold coins or limited mintage commemoratives, this humble copper cent was once handled by millions of ordinary Americans. Each worn example tells a story of decades spent in circulation, perhaps passing through the hands of soldiers returning from war, shopkeepers in small towns, or children saving their allowance. This human connection is part of what makes wheat pennies so beloved within the world of coin collecting. Ultimately, the 1945 D. Abraham Lincoln wheat penny is far more than just a 1-cent coin. It is a small yet powerful relic of American history. From its creation at the Denver Mint during the final year of World War II to its enduring presence in coin collections today, the coin reflects the resilience and optimism of a nation moving forward after years of hardship. Whether discovered in an old jar of coins or preserved in a carefully curated collection, the 1945 D. wheat penny continues to captivate collectors with its blend of historical depth, classic design, and the timeless legacy of Abraham Lincoln. Even after nearly a century, this modest copper coin remains a shining symbol of the past, reminding us how even the smallest objects can carry extraordinary stories. The enduring fascination with the 1945 D. Lincoln wheat penny also comes from the broader legacy of the Lincoln cent series itself. Introduced in 1909 by the United States Mint, the Lincoln cent represented a dramatic shift in American coinage tradition, as it was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real historical figure rather than a symbolic representation of liberty. The chosen figure, Abraham Lincoln, had become a national icon for unity, perseverance, and leadership following his role in guiding the country through the American Civil War. By the time the 1945 D. penny was minted, the Lincoln cent had already been circulating for more than 3 decades, becoming deeply embedded in American culture and daily life. The wheat ears on the reverse, which gave the coin its nickname, wheat penny, symbolized prosperity and agricultural strength, themes that resonated strongly with Americans rebuilding their economy after years of wartime production. One of the most interesting features of the 1945 D. wheat penny is the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side. This letter indicates that the coin was struck at the historic Denver Mint, a major branch of the U.S. Mint responsible for producing large quantities of coins for circulation across the western regions of the country. The Denver facility played a crucial role during the mid-20th century, especially during the wartime and post-war years when the demand for coinage increased significantly. Although billions of coins were produced there, collectors often find subtle variations in strike quality, luster, and surface condition between coins minted in different locations. These subtle differences make the study of mint marks and minting characteristics an exciting part of numismatics, allowing enthusiasts to compare coins from Denver, Philadelphia, and other mints to better understand the production techniques of that era. Next up to in the 1954 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny begins with one of the most recognizable figures in American history, Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait has appeared on the United States 1-cent coin since 1909. The coin was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it became the first regular U.S. coin to feature a real historical person rather than a symbolic figure. By 1954, the Lincoln wheat penny had already been circulating for decades and had become deeply embedded in everyday American life. The 1954 version of this coin, struck at the San Francisco Mint, represents one of the later issues in the famous wheat penny series, which officially ended in 1958. Even though it was a simple 1-cent coin used for everyday purchases like newspapers, candy, or bus fares, today collectors and historians view the 1954 wheat penny as a fascinating artifact of mid-20th century America, reflecting both the economic conditions of the time and the enduring legacy of Lincoln. The design of the Lincoln wheat penny was created by the talented sculptor Victor David Brenner, whose artistic vision helped transform the appearance of American coinage. On the front or obverse of the coin, the detailed profile portrait of Abraham Lincoln faces to the right, accompanied by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 1954, along with the small s, mint mark indicating it was struck in San Francisco. The reverse side features two curved wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the Latin motto, E pluribus unum. These wheat ears symbolize prosperity and agricultural strength, which were important elements of the American identity during the early and mid-20th century. Because of this iconic design, the coin series became widely known as the wheat penny, distinguishing it from later designs such as the Lincoln Memorial Cent that replaced it after 1958. In 1954, the United States was experiencing a period of economic growth following the challenges of World War II and the early years of the Cold War. The coinage produced during this era reflected a nation that was expanding industrially and economically. The San Francisco Mint struck millions of 1954's wheat pennies to support the needs of commerce across the western United States. Although the mintage numbers were relatively high compared to some earlier rare pennies, collectors today still pay close attention to this particular issue because coins from the San Francisco Mint sometimes show distinct strike qualities and small variations. Each coin represents a snapshot of American history, quietly passing through countless hands during the 1950s before eventually becoming collectible decades later. The metal composition of the 1954's Lincoln wheat penny also tells an interesting story about American coin production. Like most wheat pennies made after 1944, this coin was primarily composed of 95% copper with a small mixture of tin and zinc. This composition returned after the unusual steel pennies of 1943, which were produced during wartime to conserve copper for military equipment. By 1954, copper coinage had once again become standard, giving the penny its distinctive reddish-brown color when newly minted. Over time, many of these coins have darkened into brown or chocolate tones due to oxidation and decades of circulation. For collectors, the color classification, red, red-brown, or brown, can significantly influence the value of a 1954's penny. Another reason collectors pay attention to the 1954's wheat penny is the possibility of minting varieties and subtle errors that occasionally appear in coins from this era. While the standard coin is relatively common, certain examples with strong strikes, exceptional preservation, or unusual die characteristics can attract significant interest among numismatists. In the world of coin collecting, even a tiny difference in lettering, spacing, or metal flow can transform an ordinary coin into a highly desirable collectible. Enthusiasts often examine these pennies carefully with magnifying glasses or microscopes, searching for features that might distinguish one specimen from the millions that were produced during that year. When discussing the value of the 1954's Lincoln wheat penny, condition plays a crucial role. A heavily circulated coin that has spent decades in pockets, cash registers, and jars might only be worth a few cents or slightly more than its face value. However, coins that remain in uncirculated condition, especially those with bright original red luster, can command significantly higher prices among collectors. Professional grading services carefully evaluate coins using detailed grading scales, and high-grade examples sometimes sell for impressive amounts at auctions. For collectors building a complete wheat penny collection, finding a well-preserved 1954's example can be an important step in completing the set. Beyond its financial value, the 1954's wheat penny carries historical meaning because it represents the closing years of the wheat reverse design. Only a few years later, the United States Mint introduced the new Lincoln Cent reverse featuring the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., which became the standard design beginning in 1959. As a result, coins like the 1954's serve as reminders of the earlier artistic style that had defined American pennies for nearly half a century. Many collectors appreciate the wheat design not only for its historical importance, but also for its simplicity and elegance, which reflect the artistic sensibilities of early 20th century coinage. Today, the 1954's Abraham Lincoln wheat penny remains a favorite among beginner and experienced collectors alike. Its connection to Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders in American history, gives the coin a powerful symbolic value that goes beyond its metal content. Lincoln's legacy of unity, perseverance, and leadership during the Civil War continues to inspire generations, and his portrait on the penny keeps his memory present in everyday life. For many collectors, holding a wheat penny feels like holding a small piece of American heritage that has traveled through time. The continued fascination with the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny also comes from the way collectors study the smallest details of its production. Coins struck at the San Francisco Mint during the early 1950s were known for occasionally having slightly softer strikes compared with coins produced at other facilities. Because of this, collectors carefully examine the sharpness of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, especially the hair details above the ear and the bow tie area on the obverse side. On the reverse, the clarity of the wheat stalk lines and the lettering in 1 cent often reveal how well the coin was struck. When these details appear crisp and well-defined, the coin becomes more desirable among collectors since it represents a higher quality example of the 1954 issue. Another fascinating aspect of this coin is how many of them spent decades circulating in everyday American life before collectors began paying closer attention to them. During the 1950s, pennies like the 1954 were used constantly in daily transactions, buying soda from vending machines, paying for bus fares, or receiving change from small neighborhood stores. At that time, very few people imagined that these simple copper coins would eventually become collectible pieces of history. As the decades passed and the wheat penny design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Cent in 1959, many earlier coins quietly disappeared from circulation as people saved them in jars, coin albums, or family collections. The rarity of a specific coin is not always determined solely by how many were minted, but also by how many survived in excellent condition. Although millions of 1954 wheat pennies were produced, truly high-grade examples are much harder to find today. Coins that were preserved in rolls or stored carefully by early collectors sometimes retain their bright copper surfaces and original mint luster. These well-preserved pieces can stand out dramatically compared with coins that spent years exposed to wear, scratches, and environmental damage. For numismatists, discovering an uncirculated 1954 penny with vibrant color can feel like uncovering a small treasure from the past. The coin also reflects a broader historical period in the United States during the early Cold War years, when the nation was rapidly expanding economically and technologically. Only a decade earlier, the country had emerged from the challenges of World War II, and by the mid-1950s American industry was booming. Everyday coins such as the Lincoln wheat penny circulated through factories, grocery stores, movie theaters, and diners across the country, becoming silent witnesses to the daily lives of millions of Americans. Each coin passed through countless hands, quietly connecting people from different cities and communities during a time of growth and optimism. In the end, the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny reminds us that even the smallest coins can carry remarkable stories. From its creation at the San Francisco Mint to its decades of circulation and eventual rediscovery by collectors, each coin represents a tiny fragment of history preserved in copper. Whether found in an old jar of change, inherited from a family member, or purchased at a coin show, the 1954 wheat penny continues to fascinate people who appreciate the intersection of history, art, and numismatics. What once served as a simple 1-cent piece now stands as a collectible reminder of America's past and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln. Next up in the 1950 1D Lincoln wheat penny begins during a fascinating era in American history when the United States was experiencing rapid economic growth following World War II. Minted in 1951 at the famous United States Mint facility in Denver Mint, this coin represents a period when everyday currency carried both historical significance and artistic beauty. The small D mint mark beneath the date identifies its origin in Denver, a location known for producing millions of coins during the mid-20th century. While the penny may appear ordinary at first glance, collectors and historians recognize it as part of a long-running tradition that began in 1909 when the portrait of Abraham Lincoln first appeared on U.S. currency. For many Americans, the Lincoln wheat penny symbolizes not only the legacy of one of the nation's greatest presidents, but also the everyday economic life of the early Cold War era. This humble 1-cent piece circulated through grocery stores, soda fountains, and small businesses across the country, quietly becoming a witness to history as it passed from hand to hand. The design of the Lincoln wheat penny, is one of the most recognizable in American coinage. On the front, or obverse, the coin displays the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, a design created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. Brenner's portrait was revolutionary at the time of its introduction because it marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a regularly circulating American coin. Surrounding Lincoln's portrait are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year of minting, which in this case is 1951 with the small d, mint mark signifying its Denver origin. The careful engraving gives the coin an elegant appearance despite its small size. Brenner's artistic approach focused on realism and respect for Lincoln's legacy, capturing a thoughtful expression that reflects the president's leadership during one of the most difficult periods in American history. Because of this iconic portrait, the coin has remained beloved by collectors for more than a century. The reverse side of the coin reveals the famous wheat ear design that gave the penny its nickname. Two curved stalks of wheat frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, while the phrase E pluribus unum appears above them. These wheat stalks symbolize agricultural prosperity and the hard-working spirit of the American people during the early 20th century. By 1951, this design had already been in use for more than 4 decades, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in the nation's history. The wheat ears also reflect the importance of farming in the American economy during that time, when agriculture played a vital role in feeding the country and supporting its growing population. For collectors today, the wheat design instantly identifies the coin as part of a historic series that ended in 1958, just a few years after the 1951 D issue was produced. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1951 D Lincoln Wheat Penny is its production scale and how it fits into the broader timeline of American coinage. In 1951, the United States Mint produced more than 625 million pennies at the Denver Mint, making this particular issue fairly common in circulated condition. However, despite the high mintage, collectors still search eagerly for well-preserved examples because coins from this era were heavily used in everyday commerce. Many pennies spent decades circulating before people began recognizing their collectible value, which means that coins in pristine condition are significantly rarer than their original mintage numbers might suggest. Over time, the survival of high-grade specimens has turned some 1951 D pennies into desirable additions for serious numismatists. The composition of the 1951 D penny is another fascinating detail that reflects the economic circumstances of the time. Like most Lincoln Wheat pennies produced after World War II, the coin is made primarily of 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. This metal combination gave the penny its distinctive reddish color when newly minted, although many circulated coins gradually darkened or developed brown patina over the years. The coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures 19 millimeters in diameter, standard specifications that remained consistent for decades. During the early 1940s, the United States had briefly experimented with steel pennies due to wartime copper shortages, but by 1951 copper coinage had returned to normal production. As a result, the 1951 D penny represents the restored stability of American industry and manufacturing following the end of the war. Another important factor that makes the 1951 D Lincoln Wheat Penny interesting to collectors is the possibility of minting variations and errors. Although most coins were struck correctly, some rare examples exhibit unusual characteristics such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or minor die cracks. These variations can dramatically increase the value of a coin, especially when they are discovered in high-grade condition. Coin enthusiasts often spend years searching through old collections, rolls of pennies, or inherited coin jars hoping to discover one of these hidden treasures. The excitement of potentially finding a rare mint error in an ordinary penny is one of the reasons why the hobby of coin collecting remains so popular across the United States and around the world. The value of a 1951 D penny depends largely on its condition, which collectors measure using a grading scale that ranges from heavily worn to perfectly preserved mint state. In circulated condition, many of these pennies are worth only a few cents to a few dollars, reflecting their relatively high mintage. However, coins that remain in uncirculated or mint state condition can command significantly higher prices at auctions and coin shows. Professional grading services carefully examine each coin's surface, luster, and strike quality to determine its official grade. High-grade examples with sharp details and original red copper color can sell for much larger amounts, especially when certified by respected grading organizations. Because of this, collectors often store valuable coins in protective holders to prevent damage and preserve their long-term value. Beyond its market price, the 1951 Lincoln Wheat penny holds deep historical significance. Every coin from this era represents a small piece of everyday American life during the early 1950s. This was a time when families were building new homes, television was becoming a household staple, and the country was entering the early stages of the Cold War. The penny might have been used to buy a newspaper, a piece of candy, or a bus ride across town. Although it was worth only 1 cent, it carried purchasing power and played a role in millions of daily transactions. Today, when collectors hold this coin, they are essentially holding a small artifact from a transformative decade in American history. The 1951 Lincoln Wheat penny also holds a special place in the timeline of the famous Lincoln Wheat penny series, which was produced from 1909 to 1958. By the time the 1951 issue was struck, the design had already been circulating for more than 4 decades and had become one of the most recognizable coins in the United States. Generations of Americans had grown up seeing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front of the penny, making it not just a piece of currency, but a symbol of national identity and historical memory. The continuation of this design throughout the mid-20th century reflected the country's respect for Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War and his enduring influence on American democracy. Because of this long history, every coin in the Wheat penny series carries with it a connection to the past, and the 1951 issue represents one of the final chapters before the design was eventually replaced. During the early 1950s, the United States Mint was producing coins at an enormous scale to support the growing American economy. Factories, stores, and transportation systems were expanding rapidly, and coins were needed to keep commerce flowing smoothly. At the Denver Mint, machines struck millions of pennies every week, each one carefully pressed from copper planchets using engraved steel dies. The process was both precise and incredibly efficient, allowing the mint to meet the demands of a nation experiencing post-war prosperity. Although the coins were produced in huge numbers, each individual penny still carried fine artistic details, from the texture of Lincoln's hair to the delicate lines of the wheat stalks on the reverse. This balance between mass production and craftsmanship is one of the reasons why wheat pennies continue to fascinate collectors today. For modern coin collectors and history enthusiasts, the 1951 Lincoln Wheat penny remains a fascinating and accessible piece of the past. While it may not always reach the extraordinary values of some rare coins, it represents a crucial chapter in the long-running Lincoln Cent series and the legacy of Abraham Lincoln on American currency. The coin's design, historical context, and potential for rare variations continue to capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. Whether discovered in an old coin jar, inherited from a family collection, or purchased at a coin show, each 1951 penny carries a unique journey through time. For many enthusiasts, the true value of the coin lies not only in its price, but also in the stories it tells about American history, craftsmanship, and the enduring appeal of numismatics.